Part 1. The Whisper of the Shadow. Jung's Summons to the Restless Soul. There is a silent abyss that opens beneath the feet of every individual when the mind lingers on the titans of history. Jung, Freud, Einstein, Mandela. Their existences, monuments of purpose and achievement, stand like beacons, but for the common soul, they can cast shadows of paralyzing inadequacy. Who are we, mere mortals, before such colossi? Our lives at times seem like insignificant fragments in a cosmic mosaic. However, it is precisely at this point of existential anguish that the profound voice of Carl Gustav Jung emerges, not to diminish us, but to summon us to a journey of unparalleled magnitude, the discovery of our own inner universe. Jung, the alchemist of the soul, the explorer of psychic depths, would not allow us to succumb to the illusion that meaning is a privilege of the chosen few. He teaches us that the true epic unfolds not on the world's stages, but in the secret sanctuary of the individual psyche, where each inner battle, each act of self-knowledge, each step taken despite fear, weaves the tapestry of a singular and irreducible purpose. Jung, with the acuity of a surgeon of the soul, unveiled the complexity of the human psyche, a cosmos that transcends mere consciousness. For him, the purpose of life is not a goal to be achieved externally, a trophy to be displayed, but an intrinsic reality that reveals itself in the authenticity of being and the integrity of action. The psyche, in its totality, is a vast territory encompassing both the luminous domains of the conscious and the twilight landscapes of the unconscious. At the center of our conscious perception resides the ego, the point of reference for our identity. But what if there were much more beyond what the ego can grasp? What if the true essence of our being were veiled, waiting to be unearthed from the depths? This is where Jung leads us to the heart of the mystery, the unconscious. This vast and unfathomable realm, where the hidden contents of our existence reside, is the cradle of our shadow. The shadow, this dark and often rejected side of ourselves, is not merely a repository of flaws or vices, but a compendium of unlived potentialities, repressed impulses, inconvenient truths that consciousness has preferred to exile. Jung, with his penetrating vision, affirmed that it is precisely in this unconscious, in this cauldron of archaic and personal elements, that the key to unlocking the purpose of our lives lies. A purpose that is not dictated by universal dogmas or social expectations, but that is unique, specific, and non-transferable to each individual. Like an archaeologist of the soul, Jung invites us to excavate the ruins of our own being to find the hidden treasures that define our deepest vocation. But how dare we enter such an unknown and at times terrifying territory? His monumental work, The Psychology of the Unconscious, Man and His Symbols, the Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, Memories, Dreams, Reflections, are not merely academic treatises. They are maps, compasses, and guides for this dangerous yet rewarding inner expedition. Analytical psychology, his creation, is not just a theory, but a philosophy of life, an invitation to wholeness. It challenges us to go beyond the surface, to question imposed narratives, and to seek our own truth. In this video, under the aegis of Jungian thought, we will embark on a daring exploration. The steps for your shadow side, that forgotten guardian, to reveal the most intimate purpose of your existence. Are we ready to hear the whisper of the shadow? Are we willing to confront what lies hidden, so that the light of consciousness can finally illuminate the path? But before we delve into the depths of the unconscious, a question urgently and seriously arises. What does it truly mean to know oneself? And why is this quest so fundamental to unraveling the enigma of our purpose, especially when society urges us to look outward, not inward? The answer, as Jung would show us, lies in the courage to shed illusions and face the stark truth of our being. It is an invitation to individuation, to wholeness, to authenticity. And this journey begins with a simple, yet revolutionary act of introspection. What are you willing to discover about yourself? And what might this discovery mean for your destiny? Part 2. The Broken Mirror. The persona, the shadow, and Jung's invitation to awakening. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens. Jung's maxim is not a mere aphorism. It is an invitation, almost an imperative, to an inner revolution. Imagine yourself on an ordinary day, navigating the complexities of modern life. You wake up, get dressed, interact with family, colleagues, and friends. In each of these scenarios, a version of yourself manifests. There's the competent and polished professional at the meeting, the caring and patient father or mother at home, the relaxed and good-humored friend at the bar. But who are you, in fact, when all these masks are removed? Who is the essence that pulsates beneath the surface of all these representations? Jung warns us, the purpose of life is not an abstract ideal, but an immanent reality, forged in the singularity of who we are and what we desire. However, to unveil this purpose, it is first necessary to unveil oneself, a process he called self-realization. We live under the illusion of knowing ourselves deeply. We believe we have mapped our strengths, weaknesses, passions, and aversions. But if we delve deeper into the investigation, we will realize that this familiarity is often superficial. It's like contemplating the surface of an ocean and believing you know all its depths. Jung, with his unparalleled insight, reveals to us that we are dualistic beings, woven from threads of consciousness and unconsciousness. There is what we know about ourselves, and crucially, there is what we ignore. And it is in this vast territory of the unknown that the shadow resides, our dark side. Think of those sudden impulses of anger that you repress in an argument, the silent envy you feel for the success of others, the laziness that assails you when faced with an important task, or even a childish hobby that you hide out of shame. These are fragments of your shadow, aspects of your psyche that have been relegated to exile, not because they are inherently evil, but because conscience or society has deemed them unacceptable or inconvenient. The shadow, residing in the unconscious, operates in the depths, far from the scrutiny of the ego. Its traits, repressed and ignored for so long, do not manifest directly in our thoughts. Instead, they subtly infiltrate our behaviors, our dreams, our most visceral reactions. For Jung, this repression does not annihilate them. It only makes them more powerful, more insidious. And to mask this inner reality, to conform to the expectations of the world, we construct the persona. The persona is the social mask we wear, the role we play to be accepted, admired, or even feared. It is the impeccable lawyer in court, the bohemian artist in the studio, the exemplary father or mother at the school meeting. We have multiple personas, adapted to each context, to each interaction. They are essential for life in society, but they can become a gilded prison if we identify excessively with them, losing contact with our most authentic essence. The persona, then, becomes a veil that separates us not only from the world, but from ourselves. But what is the cost of perpetually living behind this mask? And what happens when it begins to crack, revealing what lies beneath? Imagine the scene. You're at a party, smiling, chatting, displaying your most charming and sociable persona. Suddenly, a word, a gesture, an unexpected situation, and for a moment a spark of irritation, a flash of insecurity, or a dark thought crosses your mind. It's a glimpse of the shadow, a crack in the persona. You quickly suppress it, return to your role, but the seed of doubt has been planted. Who was the one who reacted so viscerally? Was it you, or something deeper, something you strive to keep hidden? Jung would tell us that this is the crucial moment, the turning point where the psyche invites us to go beyond the surface. The persona, although necessary, can become an insurmountable obstacle to self-realization if we do not recognize its artificial nature. Protects us, yes, but it also imprisons us in an image that is not the totality of our being. And the shadow, that unwanted companion, continues to operate in the depths, shaping our reactions and decisions in ways we don't always understand. How then can we unravel the secrets the unconscious holds? And how can this journey lead us to a deeper understanding of our true self, beyond masks and projections? The answer lies in the courage to look inward, to confront the broken mirror of our own psyche, and to accept that the totality of being is far more complex and fascinating than the image we project to the world. What are you willing to discover about yourself? And what might that discovery mean for your destiny? Part 3. The Labyrinth of Shadow. Inner alchemy and projection as a mirror of the soul. Jung's voice, an ancestral echo resonating in the depths of the psyche, now summons us to a Herculean task, confronting the shadow. This is not a mere intellectual exercise, but an inner alchemy, a process of transmutation that demands courage and brutal honesty. What Jung called shadow work is, in essence, a deliberate plunge into the murky waters of the unconscious, an encounter with aspects of ourselves that have been exiled, denied, or simply forgotten. It is the refusal to accept the persona as the totality of being, the audacity to look beyond the polished image we present to the world and to face the naked truth of what we really are. This is the path of individuation, the path to wholeness, where the fragmentation of the psyche gives way to unity. To begin this journey, Jung offers us tools that, while simple in their formulation, are revolutionary in their application. Daily reflection, journaling, deep meditation. These are not empty rituals, but gateways to dialogue with the unconscious. Questions like, why did I act this way? What was the hidden impulse? What does this reaction reveal about me? Become keys to unlocking the enigmas of our own psyche. It is a relentless but necessary self-interrogation that forces us to go beyond superficial justifications and confront the deeper motivations that drive our behavior. It is an invitation to unmask the illusions we have built about ourselves, to dismantle the defenses that prevent us from seeing the truth. But what happens when, as we gaze into the mirror of the soul, we are confronted with an image that disturbs us, that shames us, that revolts us? What to do when the shadow reveals traits that we consider unacceptable, unworthy, or even monstrous? Is the mere contemplation of these aspects sufficient for their integration, or is there an inherent danger in acknowledging the existence of such a dark side? Jung, with his unwavering wisdom, warns us. Recognizing the shadow is not the same as identifying with it. The anger that resides in our unconscious does not define us as angry beings, but points to a psychic energy that needs to be understood, integrated, and perhaps transmuted. The shadow is not an enemy to be annihilated, but an aspect of the self to be embraced. It is the raw material for our evolution, the fertile ground where the seeds of wholeness can germinate. To deny it is to deny an essential part of who we are, condemning ourselves to a fragmented and incomplete existence. It is a paradox. The acceptance of what is bad is the first step towards true goodness. The integration of what is dark is the path to light. And how does the shadow manifest itself in our daily lives, often without us realizing it? Jung offers us a crucial clue: projection. That which deeply irritates us in others, that which we vehemently despise, that which causes us repulsion, is, with frightening frequency, a reflection of something we fear or deny in ourselves. Projection is the unconscious mechanism by which we attribute to others qualities, feelings, or impulses that are, in fact, our own, but which we cannot recognize or accept. It is the broken mirror of the soul, where we see the other, but in reality, we are seeing ourselves distorted and fragmented. Consider the individual who vehemently condemns the laziness of others, but who, deep down, struggles against a paralyzing inertia. Or the one who criticizes the impatience of others without perceiving their own inner turmoil. Jung challenges us to a radical self-analysis. Whenever irritation or anger arises in response to someone's behavior, pause. Ask yourself, does this tendency reside within me? If not, why? Is this a trait of my own shadow? This is the essence of analytical psychology in action, an invitation to unravel the mysteries of our own psyche, to unmask the illusions that prevent us from seeing the truth. But what happens when this self-analysis reveals that we are, in fact, what we most despise in others? What is the implication of discovering that the villain we criticize so much is, in reality, a distorted reflection of ourselves? Shadow work is an ongoing process, an endless journey toward wholeness. It's not about achieving a state of perfection, but about embracing the complexity of our human nature, with its light and shadows. I do not aspire to be a good man. I aspire to be a complete man, echoes Jung's voice, a reminder that true fulfillment lies in the integration of all aspects of being. It is in accepting our shadow side that we find the strength to transcend the limitations imposed by the persona and to approach our most authentic essence. It is an act of courage, a leap of faith in the capacity to become more human, more truthful, more complete. And this completeness, this totality, is the fertile ground where the purpose of life can finally flourish in its fullness. But how can this integration of the shadow, so painful and challenging, translate into a more meaningful and authentic life? And what are the dangers of ignoring this inner calling? Part 4. The Forge of the Soul. Integrating the shadow and the alchemy of wholeness. After descending into the abyssal depths of the unconscious, after confronting the shadow specters that inhabit the recesses of our psyche, an inescapable question arises, echoing in the most intimate chambers of our being. How can this revelation, sometimes disturbing, sometimes liberating, be transmuted into a catalyst for the fullness of life? Carl Jung, the master of individuation, knew that the process of self-discovery is not a bed of roses, but a forge of the soul, where the heat of confrontation and the hammer of acceptance mold the raw metal of our existence. It is natural, and even expected, that after exposure to the less desirable traits of our shadow, a feeling of discomfort or even worsening may assail us. After all, ignorance is sometimes a protective veil. But Jung warns us, the truth, however painful, is the only path to wholeness. The belief that we can simply suppress the bad parts of ourselves, banishing them forever from our field of vision, is one of the greatest illusions of the human mind. It's like trying to contain a raging river with your hands. The contained force only accumulates, waiting for the moment to erupt with even greater violence. Jung, with his vast clinical experience and profound understanding of human nature, observed an intriguing phenomenon: enantiodromia. This concept, derived from Greek, means running towards the opposite. It describes the tendency for everything, at its extreme, to transform into its opposite. The excessive repression of a characteristic, an impulse, an emotion, does not eliminate it. On the contrary, it strengthens it in the depths of the unconscious, preparing it for an explosive and uncontrolled manifestation. Think of the person who strives to always be kind and agreeable, repressing any sign of anger or frustration. What happens when stress reaches its limit? A disproportionate explosion, a fury that shocks everyone, including themselves. Or the individual who prides themselves on their incessant productivity, denying any need for rest. The result? Exhaustion, burnout, a paralysis that forces them to stop. The shadow, when ignored, does not disappear. It becomes a vengeful ghost, haunting the psyche and sabotaging the search for meaning. What you've been repressing within yourself, believing it's controlling you, may actually be controlling you in ways you can't even imagine. It is at this crucial point that Jungian wisdom offers us a surprising twist. The shadow is not an enemy to be destroyed, but an ally to be integrated. Whatever you find in the depths of your being, however dark it may seem, possesses transformative potential. Anger, for example, when recognized and channeled, can become a powerful force for self-defense and the defense of others, an engine for social change. Envy, instead of corroding the soul, can be an impetus for personal growth, a sign that something we admire in others also resides, latent within ourselves. Laziness, if listened to attentively, can be a call for necessary rest, for the creative pause that precedes renewed action. Impatience, when well directed, can drive proactivity and the search for effective solutions. The point is not to eradicate these emotions, but to understand their archetypal function, their original purpose in the economy of the psyche. Jung invites us to a subtle discernment. When is it right to act based on an emotion, and when is it better not to act? When should I rely on my mask and persona, and when do I not need them? This is the essence of shadow integration. It is not a license for impulsiveness or the uncontrolled manifestation of negative traits, but an invitation to selective awareness. Instead of labeling emotions as good or bad, we are called to understand them in their totality, in their context, in their potential. Envy can be a motivator, laziness a provider of rest, impatience a catalyst for action, provided the context is appropriate and awareness is present. The shadow is not there to punish us, but to teach us, to reveal aspects of ourselves that, once integrated, make us more complete, more authentic, more human. It is a process of expanding consciousness, where what was unconscious becomes conscious, and what was fragmented becomes whole. When the shadow is integrated, the individual doesn't become a better person in a moralistic sense, but a more complete person. The personality expands, gains depth, resonance. You become more yourself, more balanced, more harmonious, more authentic. The ability to utilize all sides of oneself, to navigate the complexities of one's own psyche, is what, according to Jung, enables us to discover the true purpose of our lives. Self-improvement, in this sense, is not a project to eradicate defects, but a continuous process of expansion and integration. It is a work that never ceases, because the psyche is a universe in constant motion, always revealing new layers, new depths. And each step on this path of improvement, of acceptance of the totality of being, adds meaning to our existence. But is this inner journey, however profound and transformative it may be, sufficient to manifest a life purpose in the external world? Or is there an imperative for action that transcends mere introspection, a call for what has been discovered internally to manifest concretely in reality? Part 5. The imperative of action. From contemplation to manifestation of purpose. After the arduous journey of introspection, after the integration of the shadow and the expansion of consciousness, Carl Jung confronts us with an undeniable truth, almost brutal in its simplicity. You are what you do, not what you say you will do. This maxim is not mere advice, but an existential imperative, a call to the concrete manifestation of purpose. The meaning of life for Jung cannot remain confined to the realm of thoughts, deep reflections, or internal epiphanies. It demands embodiment. It demands action. It demands that what was discovered in the stillness of the soul materialize in the tumult of the world. Self-realization, individuation, is not a passive state of being, but a dynamic process of becoming, of acting according to the truth that has been unveiled. It is not enough to know who you are. You need to demonstrate who you are through every choice, every movement, every interaction. Life, in its essence, is a stage where purpose is revealed not in intentions, but in actions. Jung warns us against the trap of a reactive life. How many of us find ourselves trapped in a cycle of merely responding to circumstances, instead of being the initiators of our own existence? We wait for opportunities to knock on our door, for people to approach us, for a promotion to fall from the sky, for meaning to magically appear. But Jungian philosophy impels us to a radically different stance. Instead of waiting, initiate. Go out and meet people, create a plan for promotion, and above all, make your life meaningful through your actions. Introspection, shadow work, self-improvement. These are fundamental steps, yes, but they are not the final destination. They are preparation for the real battle, which is fought in the field of reality. It's a cruel irony. After all the effort of self-knowledge, the temptation to relax, to settle into newly acquired wisdom, is immense. But Jung reminds us that stagnation is the enemy of meaning. Standing still is what keeps us bound to a lack of purpose. But how do we break this inertia? How do we bridge the gap between knowing and doing? The answer lies in continuous challenge. An active life, a life with purpose, is a succession of self-imposed challenges. After exploring the shadow and refining the self, the journey does not end, it intensifies. Jung invites us to incessant self-questioning, a dialogue with our inner compass. What do I truly believe in? What are my moral principles, my deepest values? How do my daily actions reflect these beliefs? What do I wish to accomplish this year in the next 5 years? How can I contribute to the world? The answers to these questions are not mere daydreams. They are the maps for action, the coordinates for the manifestation of our purpose. They reveal the directions the soul yearns to follow, the paths that individuation demands be trodden. But what if the fear of failure, of rejection, of the unknown, paralyzes us in the face of these revelations? What if the clarity of purpose is obscured by the fog of doubt and insecurity? Consider the aspiring author. Many dream of writing a book, but few do. They wait for divine inspiration, for the perfect moment, for the muse who will dictate the words. They live reactively, believing that the book will write itself when conditions are ideal. But what would Jung teach us? That the author who acts writes with discipline, regardless of inspiration. He seeks advice, faces writer's block, finishes the story through sheer discipline, and then proactively seeks agents and publishers. Purpose is not a gift, but an achievement, and it is not limited to career goals. It can be the aspiration to positively influence new generations, manifested in conscious parenting, dedicated teaching, the creation of an NGO, or political activism. Each value, each belief, each aspiration demands a corresponding action. It is possible to survive in reactivity, but it is impossible to find full meaning. Meaning, the fullness of existence demands an unwavering commitment to action. But what is the hidden force that, even in the face of such clarity, still prevents us from taking the first step, from transforming intention into reality, from manifesting the purpose that burns in our soul? It is the tension between the desire to be and the fear of doing. It is the inner voice that whispers doubts, that projects scenarios of failure, that convinces us that the safety of inaction is preferable to the risk of trying. Jung understood this paralysis. He knew that the journey of individuation is not only a path of light, but also of shadows that loom in the future, threatening our courage. The transition from contemplation to action is the point of greatest vulnerability, where the soul is tested in its resilience. It is the moment when the persona, so carefully constructed, can be challenged, and the shadow, so recently integrated, can manifest itself in the form of self-sabotage. What prevents us from crossing this boundary, from transforming potential into reality, from giving life to the purpose that Jung helped us to unveil? The answer, perhaps, lies in one of the deepest mysteries of the human psyche, a mystery that awaits us in the next stage of this journey. Part 6. The final confrontation. Fear, courage, and the symphony of totality. We have finally reached the threshold of our journey, guided by the timeless wisdom of Carl Jung. If action is the pillar of purpose, what then is the greatest obstacle that prevents us from acting, from manifesting the fullness of our being? Jung, with his unparalleled insight, points the finger at the oldest and most universal of adversaries: fear. Where your fear is, there lies your task. This phrase, more than an aphorism, is a map, an invitation to an expedition to the heart of our own hesitation. Inaction, the paralysis that prevents us from taking the next step, is rarely the result of laziness or lack of motivation. Most of the time, it is fear that chains us, the fear of risk, of uncertainty, of failure. To act is to risk, and to risk is to confront the possibility of the negative. The idea of a book demands the courage to face the disappointment of one's own writing, the pursuit of publication, the resilience in the face of countless rejections. Each step forward carries with it the shadow of a possible setback. That is why courage is not the absence of fear, but the unwavering decision to move forward despite it. Ignoring fear, sweeping it under the rug of consciousness, is to condemn it to return to the shadows where it will grow, strengthen, and control your life in even more subtle and dangerous ways. Fear must be acknowledged, faced, and above all, understood. When the paralysis of fear sets in, Jung offers us a compass. What could go wrong and how could you deal with it? This is not a license for anxious rumination, but an invitation to conscious preparation. Focus on probable scenarios, not on outlandish fantasies of disaster. If the dream is to publish a book, prepare for rejection, yes, but also for the possibility of finding an agent, of self-publishing, of seeing your voice heard. Don't waste time imagining idea theft or endless ridicule. These are the ghosts that fear projects to keep us immobile. By analyzing fear, by deconstructing it through preparation, you will have already disarmed much of its power. The feeling of fear may never completely dissipate, but once minimized, only one choice remains: to dive in head first. Courage is not the absence of fear, but action in its presence. No one who has achieved anything significant in life has done so by avoiding what frightened them. As Jung reminds us, where your fear lies, there lies your next task. By uncovering what we fear, we also unveil the path that, paradoxically, will lead us to the greatest meaning in our existence. And it is at this point that Jung's vision reaches its peak of depth and humanity. He bequeathed to us a truth that resonates with the very essence of life. Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. The pursuit of a perfect life, free from pain, failures, and shadows, is a chimera, a dangerous illusion. The most influential figures in history, those who left indelible marks on the tapestry of humanity, were not those who avoided difficulties, but those who embraced them, those who persisted despite them. The acceptance of life's vicissitudes, its joys and sorrows, its lights and shadows, is intrinsic to the discovery of purpose. Joy only manifests itself in its fullness when sadness is known. Victory, when defeat is a real possibility. Light, when there is darkness. Every setback, every mistake, every moment of pain is not an obstacle but an opportunity for recontextualization, a catalyst for growth, a lesson for self-discovery. It is in adversity that true strength and purpose are forged, revealing the essence of our being and the limitless potential that resides within us. It is in accepting the totality of our experience, with all its nuances, that we finally become whole. So, how do you apply all of this to your life, starting now? Begin with observation. Set aside daily time for introspection, whether through journaling, meditation, or simple moments of silence. Ask yourself, what are my reaction patterns? What irritates me about others? And what does that reveal about me? What fears prevent me from acting? Then, practice integration. Don't try to eliminate your shadows, but understand them. Give voice to your repressed impulses, not to act blindly, but to understand their message. Use anger as a boundary, envy as a motivator, laziness as a signal for necessary rest. Finally, and crucially, act. Transform self-knowledge into conscious action. Don't wait for the perfect moment, create it. Challenge yourself, even in small steps. Purpose is not a destination to be found, but a journey to be lived, a path to be built with each choice, each act of courage, each acceptance of your totality. Life, in its Jungian complexity, is a symphony where all the notes, the light and the dark, are essential for the final harmony. What will your next note be? If this journey through the Jungian psyche resonated with you, if Jung's words ignited a flame of self-discovery, then the invitation is for you not to stop here. Like this video so that more people can be reached by this transformative message. Leave your comment below. Your reflections, your questions, your own experiences with the shadow and purpose are valuable and enrich our community. And if you wish to continue exploring the mysteries of the mind and existence, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming dives into the depths of knowledge. Together, we can unravel the secrets that make us more complete, more authentic, more human. Your journey of individuation is just beginning, and we are here to walk it with you. What will be your next step?